Hello and welcome to another episode of Attacking Third, a CBS Sports soccer podcast. I'm Sandra Herrera, lead NWSL writer for CBS Sports. Joined today, as always, by my colleague and co-host Lisa Roman, broadcaster and analyst for CBS Sports. On today's episode, we are kicking off or closing out Memorial Day weekend, remembering and celebrating and honoring those who gave their lives for the country and freedoms that we celebrate day to day. On today's segment, we're going to be doing an NWSL recap. We've got tons of matches to get through, but before we get into that, thank you all for joining us live. You can subscribe to us on YouTube for NWSL extended highlights, exclusive interviews, our live recaps, and so much more. YouTube.com/attacking third. Subscribe. It helps us out big time here at A3. Lisa, how you doing today, buddy? How was your weekend? Long weekend.
Long weekend was great. Game spread out across 4 days, which was good, honestly, because sometimes when they're all crammed into 2 days, it's a lot to take in. So I liked that they were spread out. I had a good weekend, spent a lot of time with the family. It's Memorial Day weekend, so a lot of people have off from their jobs, so we could travel a little bit, head over to Jersey, spend a little bit on the beach and see each other, which was really nice. And then, of course, top every day off with a little bit of soccer at the end of it. And then today on this Monday, a little afternoon delight, a little happy hour soccer that we had. And now we're coming on live Monday, which kind of feels like a Sunday to a lot of people. Yeah. But how are you? How's your weekend?
Same energy, honestly. It's like usually this is like the type of weekend that's supposed to symbolize like kicking off summer for a lot of folks, depending on where you're at in the country.
For sure.
I'm sure. We were part of that as well. We like did a little seafood boil. That was a lot of fun to get that in. So I hope everybody was able to take some time to themselves, because we're coming off of a very stressful week for sure. We had to recap some games and cover some very sad events that took place within the country, and of course our hearts and thoughts are still with many who are still going through that. But it was nice to sort of have watch some of these players be able to go out there and do what they do best, which is, play soccer. And we're going to go ahead and maybe start for this recap portion of the episode, because for those of us who are joining us live, you're in for a little treat. We're going to be going through a recap of all these matches, but there is a midweek match that's going to be taking place on Wednesday, and Lisa and I are going to preview that for you as well towards the end of the episode. So to kick things off, we're going to start with the game that many people probably were just watching. If you're joining us, it's Kansas City Current versus Racing Louisville. This one ending 1-0. Kansas City Current walking away with all 3 points. Lisa, it's the recap portion, so we have to expose ourselves. When we were doing the preview of this and we were looking at the picks, I know that I chose Racing Louisville, but I couldn't remember which way you were going in this one.
So yes, you did pick Racing Louisville in this one. I had a draw between Kansas City and Racing Louisville. I wasn't sure how this was going to flesh out in the end. And honestly, I would never have guessed a penalty kick would be the difference maker in the 3rd minute of this match. Because frankly, it was pretty long game and stat-wise uneven than if you were actually watching this match live completely. But yeah, you had Racing Louisville and I had a draw between these two sides.
I was watching this match, like most were watching this match. And I mean, there's a number of things that I think were coming into play when you're looking at these two teams. We chatted a little bit about it on the preview. We said, okay, it's going to be another little bit of Challenge Cup familiarity coming into play. And sometimes that is a thing that we have been noticing between some of these teams that have been going up against each other pretty often during these early phases of the season, where maybe there's sometimes some lulls in a game, or maybe it's more methodical, or maybe it's even just more physical, just because of that familiarity between the two teams. And I sort of felt in moments and waves of this particular match that was something that was coming into play, and it tricked me. This game tricked me for a second, Lisa, because of the high energy that took place in the beginning. We saw Kansas City Current Pickett getting fouled in the box, earning this PK. And the availability report leaning into this one too. We talked about that a little bit for Kansas City as well. They have had to deal with some things in terms of their availability report for match days. They've had a number of key players who've been out due to injury. Sam Mewis is still working through some things. Lynn Williams obviously out with her season-ending injury, but there was a number of moments there where they had several players listed either with illness or under COVID protocol. So there was a lot of different things. And when the preview, it was kind of like, what is the Kansas City? Who is the Kansas City team that we are going to see on Monday here? And they started off kind of with some energy here. They were at home. It's like, okay, let's get one in here in front of the crowd. Great to see Lola Bonta out there with the team. Was the one to go ahead and slot that away. But because of how this started off, I thought, okay, well, maybe this is going to be the cap. This is going to be the cap off of a weekend that we saw a lot of kind of high energy soccer here. But towards certain stretches of the match, I think maybe there were moments where racing was looking maybe a little flat at times. Couldn't find the breakthrough against Kansas City in this one.
No, not at all. And I mentioned at the top that the stats were not indicative of this game at all, because when you look at the stats possession wise, 60% to Racing Louisville, 7 shots for Racing Louisville, 1 of them on goal. But Kansas City controlled this game with their energy that they had, the tempo that they had, a number of opportunities that happens. But having this penalty kick happen so early in the game against Holloway, who got her first minutes in the NWSL for Racing Louisville, it's really a tough way to start her career in the NWSL, because it was a tough penalty kick that did not need to happen, a tough foul that did not need to happen. And of course, Lola Bonta, who was one of those players out on COVID protocol, missing 2 matches for Kansas City, back, she steps up after Victoria Pickett gets pulled down, and LaBonta just nails this one. But there wasn't enough energy, enthusiasm from Racing Louisville. They looked flat, honestly. They looked like they didn't have a lot of intention to play and to win out this game. And even Kansas City at time kept turning the ball over. And there was a moment in this game where it honestly felt like the goalkeepers were just having a pass, because they'd play the ball out. One team would kick it down the line, a defender would collect it and pass it back to the goalie, and then the same thing would happen down the other side of the field. It was just back and forth. It was like a tennis match. My head was just like going side to side. It was like, can someone in the midfield grab the ball? Can someone get on it and control? I mean, when Victoria Pickett does pick up the ball in the midfield and she has space, she goes, and that is important to see. But as the game went on, it was like the air being let out of a balloon, and the intensity just continuing to drop and drop and drop throughout this match.
It almost just sort of felt like maybe both of these teams only just had like a good heavy 45 in them, because we saw that, I think, more in the first half, and then you have this second half just where you really saw just kind of the energy kind of taper off a little bit. And that happens, sometimes in soccer. You maybe have a game where it's not as high energy or not as high octane as maybe another match that you have kicking off. But in these halftime, you're talking the shots from Kansas City 3-6, and then to just close out this game, just adding one more piece. Kansas City ended with 4, compared to the 3 that they got in the first half, and then Racing Louisville with 7. So they just added one more shot in the second half. So there was just I really do feel like this was maybe the game, because we did this in the preview, Lisa. We were like, here are the teams who played each other during Challenge Cup and the familiarity that is going to come into play with these teams. And I think this game, of all of the games where there was that heavy familiarity, that we kind of maybe saw it play out in this one the most towards the end. You just sort of saw how there was just kind of like, it was a little lackadaisical. But I think the biggest takeaway out of this one is, if you're on the KC side of things, congratulations, you got that first dub off your back in 2022. They're walking away with all 3 points in this one, I think, which is big, because this was a Kansas City side that we wanted to see that transition, that success and transition from Challenge Cup into the regular season. I'm not going to say that this is the game that convinced me, but it is the game where they got the 3 points.
I agree with that completely. I mean, huge for Casey just to get the win. Doesn't matter how it comes. They got 3 points. It helps them out a little bit looking at the standings. standings in terms of matches played and continuing to get points over other teams. But we're going to talk all about the standings a little bit later. But we still need a little bit more from Kansas City throughout this game. And for Racing Louisville, based on their point in the standings heading into this weekend, if they won, they could have jumped up and been top 3. But that did not happen. Kansas City able to shut them out and get a shutout. So huge for AD Franch in the back line. Hoping for a little bit more. The wheels are going to hopefully start turning for both of these sides, KC and Racing Louisville.
We'll see. We got another one to talk about here. OL Reign versus San Diego Wave. Another couple of teams that faced off against one another during the Challenge Cup. This one going the way of the Reign. A 1-0 scoreline in this match. Rose Lavelle said, I'm going to do it myself. And here it is. A flying/diving header to finally get the breakthrough for this OL Reign side in this match. Because for me, Lisa, maybe a little bit of the opposite effect of some of the other games that or this game that we were just talking about, specifically with Kansas City and Racing. We saw again this OL Reign side at home hosting a team that, yes, they've got some familiarity with, but I was watching this game at moments, and not just this game in particular, but we're watching these games from OL Reign, and we're so impressed with the personnel on the pitch, no matter who it is, this buildup that they do in the attack, and we see it, and then it kind of fizzles out, or the shot selection is questionable, or it's just not something that's on target, and the team has maybe kind of struggled to sort of have those multi-goal games, but they have gotten the win off their back in last week, and now they've got another one to build off of. But it's another narrow scoreline in this one. But it was a game where we saw a lot of activity from Sofia Huerta once more. I believe my initial reaction to this as we were watching it, I was like, wow, Sofia Huerta's just out here manifesting attack and goals for this OL Reign side, and it just looks like it's almost like she's a magnet at some point. Like the players, the attackers are getting drawn to the service that she's providing into the box, and we saw that here with Lavelle in this very kind of later stage kind of goal. The breakthrough goal didn't come until the 75th minute in this one.
It was a late game winner, but it wasn't for lack of effort. You touched on this. OL Reign, they can shoot. They can keep possession of the ball, but it's finding the final pass. We finally saw them be much more selfish in this game and taking more shots as individuals. Having Rose a little bit higher up the field, I think, helped as well. But in this match in particular, 14 shots for OL Reign, 6 for San Diego. In OL Reign's last 3 games, they have outshot their opponents 54-21. However, OL Reign has only scored 2 goals in those 54 shots, including the game from this weekend and the goal that Rose Lavelle scored. So the conversion rate is sad. It's disappointing, frankly, because they need to be finding the back of the net, right? Like if you're getting all of these opportunities, 54-2, I am not good at math, but those are not good odds. And I can tell you that, but we saw really good things from OL Reign. I think their counter press was tremendous. We got to see Bethany Balcer be a lot more dangerous on the ball after dealing with a bit of an injury and coming in and out, trying to find that consistency from Balcer. We definitely saw that. I think the defensive battle between San Diego and OL Reign throughout, especially the first 45 minutes, was really fun to watch because both sides have a defensive mindset. They know how to defend very clinically, I'm going to say, between Harvey and Casey Stoney, that these are sides that know the defensive side of the game incredibly well. But this game ultimately opening up with Sofia Huerta getting so many crosses into the box, but what else is new on that point? And yeah, the diving header from Rose Lavelle off a set piece opportunity. We don't see that very often from Rose Lavelle, those types of goals. Yeah. And it was a beaut. It was one of those moments where Rose Lavelle was like, this ball's coming in and I'm doing anything and everything to get on the end of it. And it was a diving header, huge immediate celebrations. I mean, there's just something about scoring a diving header that makes it that much more exciting. But the possession from OL Reign, really fun, really good to watch, but their conversion rate, not great. Expected goals throughout this match,
10
1 point. Insane.
It's insane. I just like it. They lead, Lisa. They lead the league in expected goal rate. It's not that it's just high. they lead all 12 teams right
Yes.
now in 10.25. So that's what I'm saying, where
But
it's
they've
like
only scored 5 goals in 6 matches.
that where when I'm watching this again, I'm sticking with OL, by the way. I don't want this to make it seem like I'm bowing out, because this is a team that we did a preview on, largely over NWSL overview, but also Challenge Cup, and a team that I'm high on. I'm saying, listen, we're going to see big things out of this OL Reign side, and I'm really loving what we're seeing. Like, again, in the build up, within the attack, it's just the finishing is just not there right now. And when we're looking at this OL Reign side, and I'm getting asked, like, well, who's the best player on the team? And you're looking at like all sort of kind of defensive minded or defensive positional type of players. And I'm like, well, my big three for the OL Reign right now isn't like a Lavelle or a Balser or a Latsko at this point. It's an Alana Cook and a Fallon Joyce and a Sophia Huerta. So it's like you're still looking
because of so many clean sheets. I mean, defensively, OL Reign has been tremendous. A lot of credit definitely goes to Fallon Joyce, the goalkeeper, but the back line has been really good. And OL Reign can keep possession of the ball, which limits their opposition's chances. And that's defensively, it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving what we're witnessing out of Fallon Joyce, what we're witnessing out of Alana Cook. I mean, quite frankly, not just for club, but when we're looking kind of with a little bit of a bigger lens and kind of a more longer term picture. I mean, Alana Cook is the best center back period right now within the larger U.S. women's national team pool. You have multiple players who have been dealing through injury, Abby Dahlkemper being one of them, as well as Becky Sabron, who's finally, getting minutes out there with Portland Thorns. But when we're looking at players who are available right now in that position, it's Alana Cook. You have Tierna Davidson, who's out for the year. So when you're looking at who is available and who's going to, be representing this team probably during a very big event like the CONCACAF W Championship, it's going to be Alana Cook. Like that's what's going to happen here. So for now, for this Reign team, again, we have said this, that it's not a moment to maybe kind of, ring the alarm, and somebody like Laura Harvey has never been the type to do that. But we're seeing a lot of the very good ideas that this team has right now. It's just a matter maybe of some of the execution. And I think for that breakthrough goal with Rose Lavelle, it just sort of even looked like for San Diego, like, how do you lose Rose Lavelle? How do you just sort of look back on that replay and it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, that's a thing. But at that point, I think a player like Lavelle was just really trying to gun for some things there. But I was happy to see that even despite the familiarity between the two sides, that it's I don't want to say it's this new rivalry or a budding rivalry, but there have been already multiple competitive matches that we have seen between these two teams specifically. And I'm loving the different things that we're seeing just on the pitch and the players who are out there, but also between things tactically and the coaching matchup as well. So I'm really enjoying what we have seen out of OL Reign versus San Diego and vice versa. But little things like this, like you're going to look at these moments and say, okay, maybe there are areas that we know we're still going to work on, but you're walking away with the dub. You're still getting all 3 points. You're celebrating your 2021 MVP and Jess Fishlock. You're making announcements that you're going to bring back another iconic Reign player in Kim Little, and it's going to be an incredibly short-term loan. But that was also something for this club and its fans to get excited about as well. I mean, there's going to be a whole new generation of people who are finding themselves as Reign fans that maybe didn't get a chance to see Kim Little play, and now they're going to do that. So we'll see how that works out. I think the window of the time might be beneficial for the Reign here. It's supposed to be from June to August, so we'll see how that pans out.
right over international windows that's happening, right over a little bit of turnover. I am really excited to have Kim Little back in the NWSL. I'm not sure how much goal scoring we'll actually get from Little in the NWSL, but I don't think that's why Laura Harvey is bringing her in. I think it's to create those chances, to control the midfield, to tactically take on players and beat lines as a technical player that Kim Little is, and then find the forwards and move the ball up the field. She's not going to score a lot of goals for this OL Reign side, but she's going to create the goal scoring opportunities that will take less pressure off of the goal scorers on OL Reign, so they can actually just focus on finding the back of the net in this one. I'm excited about this transition and this player coming over, and the announcement that OL Reign made at halftime. It was huge. It was well done for a big name player, for sure. Excited about this to come.
Yeah. You and me both, for sure. Let's take a look at Angel City FC versus New Jersey, New York, Gotham FC here. Gotham FC, again, another narrow scoreline, 1-0, taking away all 3 points, going into Los Angeles and saying, look, Bank of California Stadium, no intimidation. They went ahead and found a breakthrough goal and walking away with 3 points. Looks, and this one was a little tough for me to watch, because I just felt like watching somebody like June Endo, watching somebody like Simone Charlie, watching somebody like Kristen Press, looking at all of these opportunities here to really kind of maybe have a little bit of a statement game. And again, we're going from an all rain side where we're talking about similar things here, and now we're going over here to this match and saying something. It's like they just couldn't get it in the back of the net there.
I mean, Gotham, they got lucky. Gotham, frankly, just got pretty lucky in this match.
I'm just going to say it.
I'm going to be very honest here, that everyone knows that that's what you're getting from me. Honest analysis, what I saw throughout the game, what I know about these teams back and forth. Ashlyn Harris, goalkeeper for Gotham, she had a fantastic game. She definitely did. She kept Gotham in this game. 6 saves on the night, stopping a number of really good shots from Kristen Press, June Endo, as you mentioned. But when we look at a little bit of the numbers that Angel City was putting up, 23 shots in this match, only 7 for Gotham. Press, in those 23 shots, Kristen Press had 5 of those shots. Corner kicks, 15 for Angel City, and they couldn't do anything with them. Corner kicks are incredible set piece opportunities with great positioning to the goal that you can do so many different things on, whether you're driving the ball low and hard towards the near post, lofting it towards the back post, playing it short, creating a different angle to get on the end of it. You have goal scorers in the box like Vanessa Gilles that can get on the end of things. With McCaskill taking them, it changes the element of what's happening inside the box, because McCaskill is one that's going to be a cleanup player around the outside of the box. So if she's not taking it, you need someone else in the box that can get on the end of it. And I mean, Gotham, we saw this throughout 2021. They come up with these incredible goal line saves where their entire team just defends, throws their body on the line. And that's what happened for a handful of goals. But I mean, can Angel City practice goal scoring opportunities on corner kicks? Like that 15 corner kicks, the last 10 minutes of this match was hectic. Very hectic, lots going on back and forth. But the goal coming from Onumonu in the 57th minute, it was serviced into the box by Caprice Didasco, and frankly not handled incredibly well by Onumonu. She loses it, and Vanessa Gilles does a great job to shield her off of it, but then it's Purse that comes in, gets a little toe poke, gets the ball out from Gilles, and then the turn and the strike from Onumonu was incredible. Frankly, it caught Didi Herrera, goalkeeper for Angel City, off guard because she didn't have time to react. And it was a very well struck ball by Onumonu as she's facing upfield. She doesn't even touch it. She just turns, gets her hips around it, and strikes it really, really well. But between the chances from June Endo, Kristen Press, great chances, and their 15 corner kicks, a lot of this game should be owed for Gotham to Ashlyn Harris in goal.
Yeah, I just, my question that I'm going to bring up here, yes, I'm going to bring it up to you because you're my co-host here, but we are talking about a game where Gotham walked away with the 3 points. It's 1-0. Does this game show or give any of the answers to the questions that we've been asking of this team?
No.
Okay, that's where we are. Does it feel good to be
no? Because the goal, I mean, the opportunities that we saw Gotham had didn't come from incredible possession or great plays that they have or consistency in getting the ball wide and sending it in. Yeah. It was almost like a counter press that happened where they lost the ball and immediately tried to win it back, and then they were able to capitalize on that moment. But no, there are still so many questions around.
And that's basically just my point and what I'm kind of leaning in on there. I mean, when we're talking about picks, we both went by way of Angel City, I believe, if I recall correctly.
Yes, we did.
And a lot of that is because of the performances that we've been seeing from Gotham. They have not really been to the standard that they've kind of been setting for themselves, and they haven't been delivering. And I mean, we're talking about a team that is generating 3.06 of their expected goal rate, and that's last in the league. You know what else is also last in the league? Their expected assist rate in 1.97. They're also last in that. We're not seeing it, but they're walking away in this game with the 3 points. And I feel like this weekend was just sort of this all-encompassing type of weekend in NWSL where you realize like, oh, that's right. This is the type of league that we cover. That even though the prior matches on paper, the data that we have in front of us that we look at for this game, out the window because they walked away with the points, and they are the ones that have the 3 points in the standing. But that's why I brought up the question, because it's like, okay, well, let's look ahead a little bit for this team. Does this performance perhaps answer any of those questions that we had of them? And you say the answer is no. And I brought it up because I believe that as well. I believe the answer is no as well. So I just think that it sort of echoes a little bit to what their head coach said in their previous post-game match. Scott Parkinson's team has to look at themselves real deep right now. And I think that they still need to continue to do that moving forward, because it's officially 1 month, of the season in the books. May is gone, and they're going to be looking ahead, and it's going to just get more difficult, from here on in, as you start to finally develop a little bit of a rhythm. I think that's the other angle here that we're looking at for this particular side. A team that has been unable to maybe kind of establish a rhythm. They had to have one of their games rescheduled due to multiple COVID protocols, so it's tough to kind of get going in that, but we'll see. I still want to see that statement game from Gotham, because I just don't feel that this was it.
Exactly. And on paper, Gotham's only 2-2. They've only played 4 games in the regular season, whereas other teams have played 6 and won 2, lost 2, but neither of them were a commanding win. And that's what I'm waiting to see from Gotham, or consistency in what they can do. So I still have a lot of questions about Gotham at this point, despite them getting their second win of the regular season.
We'll see. We've got 3 more games to get through in terms of recapping NWSL weekend action, and we're going to do that right after a quick break.
Sonic the Hedgehog, you're no match for me.
This is your moment to be the big hero.
Oh, great, the Winter Soldier.
It is my destiny to destroy you.
Work smarter, not harder.
Hang on! That wasn't too bad.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2, rated PG, now streaming on Paramount+.
All right, we've got 3 more games to get through. Let's talk about the teams who split the points over the weekend. And let's start with a couple of wild draws. Let's go with Orlando Pride and Washington Spirit. This was the game that kicked off the weekend, and maybe we should have known, like, hey, this is the energy that's going to carry us throughout. A 2-2 draw for both of these teams, with Orlando Pride snatching. They just completely, a crime was committed. Robbed Washington Spirit of this win. There is no other way to express it or put it. Washington Spirit looking at a lead late in the game, thinking they had it in the bag, and Orlando Pride and Darian Jenkins said, hold on 1 second. Insane. I'm just like still thinking about this game, honestly. And I love that it sort of it for me anyway, it kind of set the tone of this whole kind of weird weekend, I guess is a way to put it. I love it. I love a comeback.
This game was incredibly entertaining, honestly, from start to finish. But the end of this game was just completely nuts. For those who missed it, yeah, there was a bit of a crime that committed at the end of this game. Just looking at some big plays throughout this match. 19th minute, Trinity Rodman, she gets the opening goal for Washington Spirit. Ashley Hatch doubles the lead for Washington in the 66th minute. Washington had a lot of the possession. They were controlling a lot of the game. Orlando had opportunities. They had in the 20th minute or so, Darian Jenkins had a shot off the post, but I'm talking big headlines here in this game. Yeah. Then there is stoppage time added on to this match. 6 minutes of stoppage time. In the 5th minute of that stoppage time, Michaela Clough, the rookie for Orlando, she gets a goal. It was all serious after that. 6 minutes of stoppage time. And in the 8th minute of stoppage time, Darian Jenkins, she gets the equalizer. So both of Orlando goals coming in the stoppage time. 6 minutes awarded, 8 minutes ultimately given, and 2 goals coming in the 5th and the 8th of that extra time added on to this game. It was bonkers to me. There was a moment towards the end of the game, I think it was like the late 80th minute, that Ashley Sanchez had a bit of a breakaway. She had one defender on her at the top of the box, and you could tell she kind of slowed up a little bit. Instead of it, she didn't go to the corner and keep possession of the ball, but she also wasn't playing that mentality like, we are down 1-0. We need a goal before this game ends out. She was not at all playing the mindset that this game is 0-0, which is a thing in soccer. Every 5 minutes, you have to remind yourself as a player, this game is 0-0. And Ashley Sanchez did not do that in this particular moment. Late 80th minute, she had the ball, an opportunity, and she takes a shot. It wasn't that well struck. It was kind of like, okay, whatever. There's 3 minutes left. We're up 2-0. And then before you know it, bam, 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 Orlando takes 2 points.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I think it's an important part to maybe look at or focus on, because this entire game, for the, let's say there was 90 plus 8 minutes of stoppage time. So let's just say maybe for the 92 minutes of this game, I was so impressed by this performance that Ashley Sanchez had put together in this game. And this was the moment where she took this, and we saw it on the broadcast. I went, oh, this player is exhausted.
I know.
And I mean that in the highest of compliment, because this was a player who was everywhere this match. It felt like
had a great game. Really had such a great game.
Ashley Sanchez was absolutely everywhere in this game. And you could just sort of see like this breakaway moment that she had. It's in stuff, you want to maybe try to kill the game off. And the shot that it almost like it took a little extra out of her. And you just saw her like heel over and hover over, and just have to have her hands underneath. She needed a second to just sort of kind of lock it back in a little bit. It's tough covering 15 something miles in a game. It almost looked like, she was just kind of everywhere for me in this match. And it's just you just sort of see the minutes impacting the shot and the player, I think, at that moment. And then you have on the other side a massive opportunity for other players. And I just love what we're seeing out of Michaela Clough for this Orlando Pride side. I know Darian Jenkins, a player that we spoke with for this Pride team over the offseason, that despite Orlando not, being one of these expansion sides, there's still this energy and this feeling and this level of buy-in that this team and this particular personnel has the opportunity to kind of build something new within the infrastructure that already exists. So it's this kind of game, and just sort of seeing it close out, it was just, I was like, okay, this is it. Summer's here. We're going to have this type of weekend in NWSL action. So splitting the points in this one, 2-2 game.
This game was crazy. I know you just highlighted Ashley Sanchez. Yeah, defensively, she did the work for both of the goals to win it back for Washington Spirit. Rodman's goal in the 19th minute, Sandra, we just have to give it a little bit of love, because
it was a long time coming and overdue, quite frankly. So we have to talk about
her first goal of the NWSL season, and a bullet of a goal, incredibly well struck through traffic. She kept it low, hard. It had a lot of texture on it that was able to go towards the back post and fly past Erin McLeod in goal, but Sanchez is the one that won it defensively off of Michaela Clough, actually, and started that play for Washington Spirit. Same thing on the Ashley Hatch goal. It was Sanchez who won the ball defensively. It was actually a bit of a misclearance by Orlando, and it hit off the player, but then Sanchez there to pick it up. I mean, really a good play by Sanchez in a good game. We saw Andy Sullivan get her first start of the NWSL season. Kelly O'Hara out, but good highlights. I like highlighting players that did really well. Sanchez for sure. I mean, Rodman's goal, Jordan Listro, she didn't get a goal. I believe she was awarded with an assist for Orlando Pride, but she did a lot of the hard work for both of Orlando's goals. Really, really impressive to see Listro.
I loved her post. She posted like the how it started, how it's going kind of post on social media, just as someone who was in the stands as a fan at an Orlando Pride game, and then her being out on the pitch as well. That was very cool to see as well. But an exciting game for sure to kick off action over the weekend, and it rolled into it played into a Saturday as well, as we had Chicago Red Stars versus Portland Thorns. This game also ending in a 2-2 draw. Lisa, I saved my draw for our picks in this game because I'm Chicago forever, Chicago over everything, end of the day. But it's because I have so much love that I know the team, and I said, this is the draw. This is going to be the draw for. But I loved it. It was we went from that Washington Spirit and Orlando Pride game, and then going into this Portland and Chicago game. I know we were excited about it because it's like, hey, we're going to get a chance to see these two teams who had not faced each other yet in 2022. We're going to maybe see some kind of familiarity in terms of stylistic things on the pitches. They're two of several clubs, quite frankly, who are kind of rolling out their teams in these sort of 3-back formations to start off their respective seasons. So just sort of knowing that going into this one, I kind of felt like maybe the middles of this match is going to be kind of clogged. Maybe we're going to see some stuff out on the wings, and Mallory Pugh delivered that very, very, very early. It took all but 5 minutes for the Red Stars to get on the scoreboard first. Kayla Sharples reading a ball, intercepting that pretty quickly, lobbing it over to Ava Cook, who kind of flicked it on into open space on the wing for Pugh, and it took her approximately 9 seconds to score, and just sort of getting in front and beat her defender and beat Bixby in the end there. And very early on, there was an early lead, and then Portland said, hold on a second, and they quickly equalized. So it just sort of had the energy. It was like I told myself in the back of my head, Lisa, as I went to go cover this game locally, that this is it. I'm very glad that I chose my draw for this game, because I feel like it's going to end out that way.
And that's exactly what it was. It was like a call and response between these two sides. And we have to talk about how Portland scored their goals, or how Chicago let up 2 goals in this game, because both of them off corner kicks, put into the box by Sam Coffey, the rookie who's playing higher up the pitch than she has in her collegiate days, and playing in that defensive 6 role. And it's a new role for her, and she's done a really tremendous job. But it's Hina Sugita getting on the board first for Portland off of the corner kick, and really Chicago couldn't clear it. They were unable to get the ball out of the box, and it falls to Sugita, who is wide open on the back post. But as I mentioned, a little bit of a call and response, because Rachel Hill able to get another goal for Chicago. So the Red Stars go up 2-1. We have to highlight Ava Cook, the forward for Chicago Red Stars. I think she did a fantastic job playing with her back to goal, holding the ball up. She got a few shots in this game as well that were really good, really dangerous. We're seeing more confidence coming from a player like Cook, which is good to see. But the goal from Rachel Hill was fantastic. Really good to see Rachel Hill, a player that is finally getting a little bit more consistency and minutes, get this goal in the 20th minute or so, I believe. So, but Portland responding again off another Sam Coffey corner kick. And again, Chicago can't clear it. And who else but Sophia Smith? Almost a no-look finish from her on this corner kick scrum in the box in the 46th minute. Really fun stuff.
I think that's the best example. I think, maybe this season, or if not in this just specific game, that where it's just, you can't let that happen with Sophia Smith in the box like that's going to make you pay. And she did. And it was very early in the second half as well, which is just kind of like, it's just like one of those things where you're like, okay, it's like there's some interesting things happening here. But I loved that it also came off of another set piece for Portland, as an area where they're sort of kind of rising and sort of starting to deliver. Maybe a little bit for time for us to kind of wax poetic a little bit about Sam Coffey. I mean, the surface was fantastic. I got to say, getting a chance to watch this Portland Thorns team live, because it's such a, this, Lisa, as someone who's also been on site, it's just an entirely different experience when you're watching a game live. The movement and the angles that you're able to see from these players are completely different from if you're just watching at home. So to be able to sort of get a bigger idea of what Portland is looking like and what they're presenting, I mean, I'm loving what we're seeing from Sam Coffey. It does not look like a player who is intimidated at the pro level right now, and is just really kind of slotted in and has become one of these answers in the midfield for Portland Thorns, in the absence of somebody like a Lindsay Herrera, because I think that was coming into this regular season. There was a lot of narrative around that about, okay, well, she's leaving. So what's this, who's going to step up in the midfield? What's it going to look like? And we're seeing a lot of great stuff from Hina. We're seeing a lot of great stuff from Coffey, and watching it live is just a different experience. So no shock whatsoever that this sort of closed out in a 2-2 drop. But big takeaways from, I think, when you're looking at two forwards on the opposite sides here, and somebody like a Sophia Smith or somebody like a Mel Pugh, players who have been consistently called in to national team camps under head coach Vlatko Andonovski. And we're just looking at another game where there's just more examples of why these players are going to probably continue to be part of this extended pool for the national team. You have Pugh making these performances on limited minutes. She went 45 minutes in the second half in Orlando Pride, and then went about an hour against the Portland Thorns, and is producing ridiculously. And then you have a Sophia Smith where you have to maybe ask yourself, if you remove a Sophia Smith from the Portland Thorns, what does their attack look like? So it was just more it's just more data, quite frankly, to sort of have for these two players. And it was great to be able to sort of see them go head to head in this match. I thought, despite the 2-2 draw, is one of the other more thrilling matches of the weekend for sure. We got a last one though, Lisa. Another draw. Houston Dash versus North Carolina Courage. 1-1 in this one. So not a 4-goal fest like we saw from the other two draws, but 1-1. Diana Ordonez getting the goal for North Carolina Courage. Rachel Daly securing the equalizer for Houston Dash. But perhaps maybe similarly to what we saw in Kansas City and Racing Louisville, the action coming pretty early in this one.
Yes, exactly. We saw Emily Gray back for North Carolina in this match. She was injured in the Challenge Cup final for the Courage, so she was back. But the opening goal coming from Diana Ordonez for North Carolina, 24th minute. It was a bit of a breakdown in Houston's back line that Emily Gray and Ordonez capitalize on. And it was good to see that from rookies in the NWSL, being higher up the field, realizing that Emily Gray can pick up this ball, get past Katie Naughton and Ordonez. This was the moment when I saw Ordonez take the ball and just go the opposite way, say, it's enough of this passing. I'm taking it from you. I'm going to go and I'm going to score a goal. She gets past Chapman, and then she beats Jane Campbell, the goalkeeper for Houston, on this shot. It was really well done by Ordonez. Good to see that. I know she had a lot of family at the match, so that was fun that she was able to celebrate with all of them. But then in the stoppage time of the first half, who else for Houston Dash except Rachel Daly? She's able to get this goal. When we looked at the stats for this match, Houston had 15 shots, only 5 for North Carolina Courage. Rachel Daly and Maria Sanchez had 4 shots each throughout this match. They are Houston's attack, frankly. they did so well throughout this game, and we're starting to see more of that. But I liked Rachel Daly playing this role where her and Shea Groom can rotate through being a high striker 9 and then dropping back into the midfield, because when Rachel Daly plays deeper into the midfield and she can make runs off of the forward shoulders and get in behind, she is just incredibly dangerous. And that's how the goal happened for Houston. It was a transitional play. It's Sophie Schmidt that picks up the ball deep in midfield. Defensively, she does a great stop, does what she's supposed to do, picks it up, finds Prince, who has a great first touch, gets around the defender, and then slots Daly through. It was timed so well. Daly was onside. She's able to beat the defender. She gets around Casey Murphy. And at this point, Kaylee Kurtz for North Carolina Courage is trying to drop back. She's raising her hand. She thinks it's offside for Rachel Daly. It is not at all. And Daly has the presence of mind to shoot this like there are 3 goalkeepers standing in the net, because frankly, there were 2 players, one close and one far, standing right in front of the net that could have stopped the shot if it were anyone else shooting it. But Daly, she doesn't. She finds the back of the net and she equalizes in this match, all in the first 45 for the 2 sides.
Yeah, I almost thought maybe it was going to be another one of these that wild draws that kind of maybe bled into Sunday, or kind of transitioned into sort of the later stage of the weekend, because we had the whole weekend kickoff with a 2-2 draw with the Pride and the Spirit, and then Chicago kept it going on Saturday, and then we had Sunday this matchup with the Dash and the Courage, but 1-1 for the 2 of them. I loved watching the continued development of Diana Ordonez. I know we got to see a little bit more of her, more in terms of playing for country when the CONCACAF W qualifiers were on Paramount Plus. It was great to sort of see her get those runs out there con Mexico, and being able to sort of see her do this in front of her family. There were great shots of them in the crowd, and that was really nice to see as well. But Houston, kind of saying like, hold on here, we're figuring things out, and we're gonna be okay. And that's kind of the energy that is sort of maybe feeling from some of these performances that we're starting to see a little bit from that shot. I mean, I know we were high on them in the preview. We said we want to see this front line of Daly, of Prince, of Sanchez be able to kind of gel and put together some strong performances. And this one settles the splitting the points, but maybe this is the beginning of finally starting to see, full 3-point wins and stuff like that. So we'll see. Let's take a look, maybe just to sort of close out and celebrate the month of May. We have a full month to take a look at in terms of the standings of the league. Let's take a look after the weekend how things have sort of shaken out now. It is still San Diego Wave FC on top of the standings at number 1, Angel City at number 2, OL Reign number 3, Houston Dash number 4, Racing Louisville at number 5, and Orlando Pride at number 6. That is the top 6 positions right now for the league. Rounding things out for the bottom half of the table, Chicago Red Stars at number 7, Portland Thorns at number 8, Washington Spirit number 9, and New Jersey, New York, Gotham FC at number 10, Kansas City Current at number 11, and at number 12, North Carolina Courage. So that's a wrap for the month of May, where we'll have to take a look at these again, maybe towards the end of June, and sort of see where things shake out then. I think maybe we'll make that a part of our routine here at A3, to sort of keep things in perspective. It's one thing to look at it week to week to week, but when you're sort of seeing things kind of month to month, getting a look at the fixtures that took place, and then sort of seeing where teams have kind of shaken out, it's a little bit different. So we're going to try to keep that going. But there is a game that we do have to preview, Lisa, for all the good folks joining us here today. There is one Wednesday midweek match, NWSL action for you, kicking off at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time at Segra Field. It's going to be Washington Spirit versus Chicago Red Stars. This was the rescheduled home opener for Chicago Red Stars, I believe, and now they had to reschedule it because of Challenge Cup overlap. So Chicago was one of 4 teams, I think, that had to move some things and shift some things around. Portland Thorns was the other, and obviously North Carolina Courage as well. But look, we're talking about the 2 teams that delivered some wild draws this weekend, Lisa. I mean, coming off of a quick turnaround, who are you looking at this one and why?
That's such a good point. I mean, quick turnaround, yes, for both of these sides. But I mean, for Washington Spirit, they've played back to back to back to back
Yes,
to back. It
yes.
feels like they played last week, Wednesday, Sunday, Friday. They play again on Wednesday. These are quick turnarounds for Washington Spirit. And as you mentioned, I mean, Washington, they're coming off of a couple draws back to back. I mean, they just tied with Orlando Pride, and those were late goals from Orlando that came at the end of that match that Washington frankly should have won that game.
Yeah.
A 0-0 draw with OL Reign before that, and then a 1-1 draw with Portland Thorns earlier in this month of May. So for Washington, they need 3 points. They've been struggling a little bit with getting on the board and then holding that lead that they have. I mean, that was their biggest thing against Orlando. And I imagine a lot of frustration coming after that tough draw in the stoppage time for Orlando Pride to get 2 goals at the end of that game after having a really good stretch of 80 minutes or so from Washington Spirit to get really good goals in different scoring opportunities, shots from distance, getting in behind for Ashley Hatch on her goal, Trinity Rodman getting her first NWSL goal of the year. But this now, as Washington is at home playing against the Chicago Red Stars, who Chicago also coming off of a tough draw against Portland 2-2, but that game was a little bit more back and forth. Chicago went up, then Portland equalized, then Chicago up again, and then Portland getting the equalizer to end that one 2-2. So when I
who's gonna win? Who's gonna lose, Lisa?
When I look at this, honestly, I think Washington Spirit. I think coming off of 3 draws in a row, they're not happy with how that Orlando game ended. And I want goals though. Can I do like a 3-2
so. Yeah, if you want to put a scoreline
on this match? But I give it in favor of Washington. Trinity Rodman got a taste of scoring goals in the NWSL this year. She's going to get another one.
Listen, that's a dangerous player to start getting hot right now, right? I'm with you, though. I feel like the Spirit have had a pretty match-heavy front of their season, and we're maybe starting to see that in some of their starters. I think having the return of Andy Sullivan is going to be huge for them in the middle on a quick turnaround. And for Chicago, it's also going to be a quick turnaround, but they're actually just going to be starting their match heavy schedule. So they're going to have 2 weeks where they're going to have about 5 games in there, but this is just the beginning of that. And I'm just like thinking about it a little bit, and I'm just kind of like, there's one on the 1st, there's going to be another one later on the 8th. It's a lot, but this is going to be the beginning stages of that. And in like racking my brain right now, I'm realizing that June 8th game is actually the rescheduled Challenge Cup game. Mm-hmm. So my bad on that, folks. This June 1st game is not the rescheduled match. It's still going to be the June 8th one. But I think it's early enough to where maybe Chicago is not going to have the heavier of legs, but they are going to have the travel on them. And both of these teams are going to be playing at Segra. And quite frankly, this is a facility that has not been super kind to the Washington Spirit either, let alone the opposition that have come in to go and play in this facility. So listen, for the sake of the one game, I'm not gonna do a draw, but I just won't be surprised if it shakes out that way.
I know,
but I'll just keep it a full buck and just go Chicago all the way, and we'll see. So you chose Spirit, I'm going Chicago. We'll get a chance to come back on here and talk about it.
So this Wednesday game, I know you mentioned that Chicago is not going to have as heavy legs, and I agree with that completely. Washington will, but Andy Sullivan being back, she's got fresh legs. I mean, coming off of limited minutes with Washington Spirit, but if she can control that midfield, Kelly O'Hara was out for Washington in this past weekend's games. If she'll be available is unknown in this one, but maybe we'll see a little bit more player rotation for Washington and Chris Ward, which could be good, could be bad for them. But I mean, if Mallory Pugh is on fire, if Ava Cook is getting good looks for Chicago, I think the goalkeeper battle between Bledsoe and Alyssa Nair is going to be really fun to break down between these two sides. I know you said potentially a draw you're looking at, but I put I put some score lines on this. Do you have any score lines that you can drop for this one?
Narrow. I'll say narrow. I'll say it's going to be like a 2-1 or a 1-0. I just am like, It just depends. It's just going to depend on who's going to be available for both these teams. It's going to depend on what the player rotation actually looks like, if there is a ton of it, and who's going to be available. I mean, we saw a player like Bianca St. George's leave that match against the Thorns early due to a collision. So she did not come back into the game. What's the status on her? Is she going to be available? What does the minutes restriction look like for a player like Malpugh, who is still technically working her way back, going from 45 minutes to 60? Is she only going to go 75, etc.? Is Erin Wright going to be available for the Chicago? She is somebody who has locked down Trinity Rodman before, is not unfamiliar with that. Is she even going to be available? There's too many unknowns here, I think, for me, which is why I was like, God, I really want to choose a draw, but I can't do that with only one game of us previewing. So I don't want to do that. So I want us to pick winner a piece. And I like that you're going Spirit. It gives me the opportunity to go Chicago, but we'll see what's going to happen in this one.
I like that we have that. We've each picked a side in this one. So it's a Wednesday midweek action game. We'll be back to talk about it on Thursday as well between these two sides, back to back. Pretty quick turnarounds for these guys. And we're doing this live on Monday right now. So it's a quick turnaround for everyone.
The league and for us.
For everyone involved. And then, so between these two sides, we'll see what happens. Goalkeeper battle, potential draw to happen between these two. But we get to talk about it live on Thursday together. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, keep that content note for all of you in the back of your heads. We're doing the recaps of any Wednesday matches for the next foreseeable future on Thursday. So stay tuned for more from us on Thursday. Thank you all so much for listening to Attacking Third and joining us as always. You can follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at Attacking Third. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and anywhere you listen to your podcast shows. We're available as video. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Visit youtube.com/Attacking Third. And any questions that you have for us, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts with your question, and we'll answer it during a mailbag segment. And we'll be back with more on Thursday for you all. For Sandra Herrera and Lisa Roman, this was Attacking Third.